So the LMS concept is clear to everyone. Okay, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Rohit. So before we get started, I think I'm not sure, Rohit, if you have seen or not. We have basically announced the first ever global MuleSoft Dream in 2023 that is going to happen in India and NCR region. So we're just looking for some help. If you could go ahead, check our LinkedIn. That is, if you go to LinkedIn, it is basically nothing. Mule Dreamin is the URL for our MuleSoft Dreamin. And then you can just like, share, and repost our post that we are doing and help us in engaging. That's what we have. And we'll definitely need volunteers. If you are interested, you can just use these buttons that we have. Now let's talk about what we are going to talk today is we are going to really talk about a very important concept that is lightning data table. Okay. So far we have seen so many important concepts, and lightning data table is also important as other concepts as well. So I believe with the name itself, you might have got that, okay, this is going to give you the capability for creating the data table or creating a table where you will have rows and you will have columns. Okay. So Salesforce basically gives you the tag, the out of box functionality. I will not say an out of box, I'll say the standard components that we have, standard tags that we have that we can use for creating the lightning data table. Okay. Now for lightning data table, not even lightning data table, for any data table, you will have two things, like minimum two things. One is column and one is data, that is also known as rows. Like columns, it could be the headers of your table, and data that you wanted to display in the table. And for the flexibility purpose, Salesforce also gives you the ability, you can extend the lightning data table using lightning data table module. We'll not cover that here because that is very advanced concept, but yes, we have the blog post, we have the videos out there, and you can always go there and check out those. And we are always here to help you. So you need not to think like we are not going to help you. Okay. Now let's talk about a very simple code. We are going to basically look into the multiple concepts today in the data table. We will start with creating a very basic data table where you have to do few things. In the HTML, you have to use the lightning base component, that is lightning data table. Okay. Then you have to provide a key field. What is the key field? It is going to always be the unique for your data. Most of the time we are going to use ID. Then we are going to have the columns, and then we are going to have data. So the columns are going to take few things. This is again something that you can get from the document as well, but I will explain most of the things related to the columns. Okay. So here the columns are definitely going to have minimum two things. One is label and one is field name. Okay. And then later on, you can also provide the type of the field. What is the type of that field to basically format the data into the UI. And then we can also customize the columns, how we will see that. And into the class, this basically variable is on top of the class. And then within the class, we are just using two variables saying data and columns. So that's just a very basic, simple data table. And this is an example of our data table where you could see this balance is getting displayed in the currency format. Closed ad is displaying in the date format. Phone is displaying in the phone. Similarly, the websites. Okay. So that is what we have as part of our very basic and simple data table. So let's get back here, and we are going to really start with the basic data table. And for that, we will create a Lightning Web component, and I'm going to name it as data table itself. The very first thing that we will do is we are going to extend it. Okay, we are going to expose this component master label. I'll say data table, and I'm going to, not this one, we are going to use lightning targets, and we will use anywhere, either record page, app page, or home page. Okay. Now let's talk about the HTML part. So here, as we talked about, as usual, we usually going to put lightning card. The table, the title, I will say, let's say account list. Okay. Icon is going to be same. We're going to remove the button, and then we are going to have the paragraph here. Sorry, replace the paragraph with the division tag, as usual we do. So here what we will do is we'll say, okay, lightning data table is our tag. Okay. As we talked about, it's going to take few key parameters. That is, one of them is key field, and we are going to use ID. I'll let you know what field we are using here. Then we have to use data, and we're going to say data, and then we will use columns. Okay, and we are going to say column list. Now we have not defined the data, we have not defined columns. Okay, data is going to be the record of arrays, sorry, the array of records. Columns is also going to be array of records. Okay, now let's define these variables in our JavaScript. So what we will do is we're going to say data, it is going to be array of records. Columns, that is also going to be array of records. Now to display the columns into the data table, you need to tell what are your headers. Again, let's get back to the UI. These are the headers like the label, the website, phone, balance, and close at. Okay. So let's say we are going to create a data table for account where we are going to display account name. We are going to display phone, industry, rating, and create a date. Okay. So we will have multiple columns. So we are going to use the objects here within the array. And the very first column is going to be label. And let's say label is name that you will see here as part of your header. Then field name. This is going to be the field name in your record arrays. Okay. For now, let's put name. I'll explain. Okay. And similarly, let's put it for name. We've got rating, we've got phone, we have got annual revenue, we have got created date, and maybe website. Okay. So let's quickly change it. Label is phone, field name is also phone. And we've got rating. This is also going to be, and then we've got, let's say, not industry, annual revenue. And field name, we will say annual revenue. Okay, it's annual revenue. Then we have got, let's say, created date. So here we will say created date, and we are going to get rid of the other column that we have. So just the simple HTML, simple JavaScript file. Let's go ahead and deploy this. So we're just seeing if our skeleton is ready or not. Once our skeleton is ready, we will try to put the skins there. We'll try to give his brain there so that it starts talking with JavaScript, and it starts giving us the result. So as usual, we'll add the component in the home page or application page or record page. So data table is our name of component. We'll just drag and drop, and you will see here, you are able to see the columns that you have added as part of your columns in the JavaScript. So the headers you see name, phone, rating, annual revenue, and created date. And these headers are basically nothing. These are comings as part of your label. Okay. Now we really wanted to display some data over here. So for that, let's quickly create an Apex class, and I'm going to say data table service. You could name it as anything. And here what we will do is we are going to have an aura enabled method that is going to be annotated with catchable equal to true. And name, we will say account list. Okay. Let's get rid of whatever is there within the method. And we are going to return the 10 accounts. And what all we are going to return, we wanted to display the ID, we wanted to take the ID. Then there is something called name, rating, phone, annual revenue, created date. Okay. And let's say also owner ID and owner.name. Okay. from account limit 10. As this query is going to return the list of account, our return type of method should be list of account. And once we're done with the changes, let's deploy this. I hope everyone is okay with this query, with this code. Annual revenue, there is missing E. So I hope this Apex class, this query is clear with everyone. No confusion, no doubts. And then we are going to import here class. Okay. So class name is DataTable service. Method is account list. And we will use wire decorator to call our Apex class. The method is account name. We really don't have any parameter, so we are not going to pass the parameter. Error and data. So we will say if data, and if there is data, so what we will do is we'll say this dot data equal to data. Okay. And if there is any error, we can say console dot error, and we're going to say JSON dot stringify error. Okay. So far we are good. Now let's talk about how these columns are going to map the field name. Okay. So what is, let's quickly print this as well, data as well. So we'll say console.log and we're going to print data. And for now, I'm going to comment this line number 19. Let's deploy this. So what we did is, this is very easy. I think you all have definitely done. Okay. You all definitely have done this, calling the Apex method and do the debug log. Now we are going to refresh this here. And definitely our UI is not going to show anything. We are interested looking into the console.log. And our console.log here, you could see there are 10 array records. There are 10 records. And if you see here, expand any record, this is your field name. So now here we talked about field name, right? So if you are displaying something in your data table and you wanted to display, definitely you need to provide field name. So this field name, whatever the value you are providing here is, must need to match what is there in your record, in your list of records. Okay, so we have got created date. So if you see, we have got created date here. We have got, I think we missed annual revenue, or it might not have annual revenue. Okay, but annual revenue is there, and then name is there, phone is there, and owner ID is there. Like we don't have, but we can definitely add that. Okay, rating and phone, everything is there. So basically you need to make sure you are using the field in name, whatever is there available in your JavaScript, in your list of records. If you don't use, you will not be able to display the information. Sorry, I used the wrong command. Yeah, now I'm uncommenting this line number 20 and then making the change, deploying to Salesforce. Okay. Yes, I will use that, right? Custom field. Good pointer. So now you could see here, right? Let me close this. So you could see I've got name, phone, rating, annual revenue, created it, account owner. Okay. This is basically displaying the user ID. Now, two things that we will look into is, as Rohit said, we are going to use custom field as well. So I'm going to navigate to object manager, account, fields and relationships. I definitely have a custom field called active. Okay. And let me query this field here. That is custom field is active. So now we have this custom field active and we wanted to display if our account is active or not into the table. So we really have to use another column here. We'll say label. And you can say active. Okay. And then here you're going to have field name. Now this time your data is going to contain the field name value active in this field, that is your active __C. Okay, and that is how your active is going to display there. I'll definitely change the query of my account, and how I will change the query is, let's execute this query first from the developer console. So you've got these 10 records. Now, if I put a condition here and I'll say where annual revenue is not equal to null, you will get, we have got 10 records, right? So this is the query we are going to use. So we are going to put here and then deploy this. The reason, because we wanted to see a few things here. And what are those things? Let's see. First, let's see the outcome. So now you could see here, right? We've got this custom field also says it is active or not. If you see created, it is something which is like displaying like this. Okay. Annual revenue says, okay, this is not, it's not telling either it is dollar, it is INR, it is USD, it is Euro, ZBP, Japanese, nothing else. Okay. Nothing else. The name of account are not getting displayed properly. But if you click on the drop down and click on wrap text, and your account name are now getting displayed properly. Similarly, your account owner, similarly, your created data as well, right? So first, let's talk about this wrapping the text. So to wrapping the text, there is an attribute called wrap text that you need to set to true. So what it will do is it will by default wrap the text. So if you have extra text that is not getting displayed, it will display into the new line. Okay. Next thing that we wanted to talk about is annual revenue. This is a type of currency, right? So you could just go there and find this is your annual revenue. Here you could say, okay, this is type, type is currency, like this. And your created date type is date. Type is date. So it's always going to take key and value pair. Now, after making this change, if you go ahead and deploy this, and then once we are back here in Salesforce, we refresh this page, you will see now the date is getting displayed in a much better way. We are getting the ID into the 2 lines. We are getting the names into 2 lines because we have already wrapped the content. And annual revenue, you could clearly see it is now displaying the numbers in INR currency. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, I don't see any question. Next thing is that you will definitely don't not need like you will not need to display the owner ID. You will display who is the owner, the name of the owner. Okay. So how you will display that? Because now your field says, your data says, okay, within my data there is a field called owner.name that gives me the name of my owner. Okay. But if you use this concept here, let me say, if you say something like owner.name in DataTable like this, and then it's deploy this, it's not going to work at all, because this is basically what we talked about is, we talked about that has to be the field present in your records, in your objects. But if you see owner is coming as blank, there's nothing. So how you would display the related records? It's not about only owner. It's about any parent record that you wanted to display into the Lightning data table. That is, now what you have to do is you have to modify this record. Now you know that every record is definitely going to have owner ID until unless that record is the child in case of master detail. Okay. So what we are going to do now, we are going to first create, like we are going to first clone the data, because we know wire method record is read only. So we are going to clone it using the json.stringify, and then you're going to do the parse. I hope everyone is aware about this concept and have not forgotten this. Okay. So that is first thing that we will do. Next thing that we will do is we are going to iterate one by one, because we have got 10 records. And for every record, we need to say that this is the record owner. Okay. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to use for each. So how you are going to use is there are two ways that you can do is one is you can use array map method, or one is you can use for each. I'm going to tell you here for each. Okay, so what you will do is you'll say, okay, arr colon for each and select the top one. It is going to give you the syntax. It says that array dot for each. So what is our array? In our case, it's cloned data dot for each. What is this? This is an account. Here, what we will do is we will say, okay, if account dot owner ID, that means there is an owner for account. If that is the case, add a new attribute in our table that is owner underscore name equal to account dot owner dot name. And once we are done this for each object, in the last we will say this dot data equal to cloned data. Now I have got this attribute within my array, which is going to hold the name of my account owner. I can just quickly use this field here, and I would be able to clearly see the account owner. Now I really don't need to worry about the record ID. I can get rid of that column later on. Okay, you would clearly see now I am able to see the name of my account owner. Okay, and for the better visibility, I'm going to get rid of this particular column now, that is owner ID, and we don't need at all. So that's how you display the parent record. It could be, as I talked about, it could be owner ID, it could be parent ID, it could be account, contact, case, opportunity, anything. That is how you need to do. In your query, you need to make sure you are querying the parent object and as well as the field you wanted to display. And then with the help of this for each method or with the help of map method for array, you can just prepare your records. Any issues so far? Any questions? I'm not hearing anything. I don't see anything. Okay, I assume I'm very good teacher. Let's talk about how we could display the link in the Lightning data table. Okay, there are two different ways to display the link. One is very simple. Let's say that in our account object, there is a field called website. Okay, if you go to developer console and we query, like say website, it's going to give us the website for that account and we can use that. So let's quickly add this first. Okay, in our query, we are going to add a website here and we are going to deploy this. And in our columns, we are going to add one more column. And that is going to be website because this is the same field we have. Now this time, this is a type of URL. So we could clearly say, okay, type as URL. So it is going to display this particular text because website is nothing. It is a type of URL. You could display in the form of URL. But there is also one more requirement that we are going to talk here, how you could put the link into your Lightning data table is you could see here, right? If you click on maybe my website, it's going to open my website, right? Now their account name is there. Let's say you wanted to have a requirement where you wanted to display the account name in the form of link. And if you click on this link, it actually takes you to that account record detail page. Okay. So for that, if you use the same way and you say type equal to URL like this for the name field, it's not really going to work. Okay. Now, if I come back here and refresh this page, it is definitely going to, okay, even it's not this. Yeah, now we got the account name. It is definitely going to showcase in the form of URL, but if you click here, it's not going to take you anywhere because it is trying to, you see the URL, it is trying to prepare the URL for that account name. So how you could prepare this URL in your Lightning data table? So for this, you have to use something called type attributes in your labels. Okay. Now you need two things. To display the URL in the UI, you need two things. One is the value that you wanted to display. and one is the link where you wanted to redirect when the user clicks on. Okay, so we already have the account name, but we need the account record URL. Okay, and then with the help of type attributes, because now we are talking the data type, we are talking about the data types. So we are going to have the type attributes and display. How you are going to do is, first we have to prepare the record URL. So now we are already doing this for loop. So we are also going to say account dot, let's say, record URL equal to, we have already talked about how we prepare is, that is location dot protocol. Okay, first I'm going to take this in our browser. So we will say it's going to be location dot protocol plus location dot host. Okay, this is what we have. And then if we say, if we open any account, let's say here our account, we are going to open the account record. So you will see the URL is something like this. We're going to make it dynamic. So how? So we'll say location dot protocol the host. We have got it. Now we have this URL on the top, that is lightning R account and then account ID view. So we will say, okay, just have this. This ID has to be dynamic. So we are just preparing the dynamic ID where we will say account dot ID. Now we've got the record URL. We could also say owner URL similarly, right? Instead of record URL, we could have owner URL if you want. I'm just putting it here. And we can say account dot owner ID and it should be user. So we have got two fields. Now for this account, we wanted to display the in the form of link. So what we have to do is, we definitely have to use the type as a URL. Now we are working with the data type. What we wanted to do is, we wanted to display text in the form of URL. And on the click of a URL, we wanted to navigate it to certain record page. Okay. So what we have to do is, we have to use type attributes. Type attributes, it is going to take the arrays. Okay. Sorry, object. And here what we have to do is, we have to tell, okay, now there are two things that you need to see here. This field name is going to basically display the, okay, I think I'm talking about different, yeah. The top one is going to have the record URL that will sit behind the scene. And then within the type attributes, you need to tell what is the label that you wanted to display in the UI. So what is the tag for anchor? Sorry, what is the tag for URL? That is something like this, right? A href, and then it has to have some value. And then here it has to showcase some value like this, maybe salesforce.com, right? So that's what we are saying. This href is going to be covered by this field. And then within the attributes, we have to tell what label we wanted to display. And because every account is going to have a different name, it is dynamic. So we have to use label. And then within the label as an object, we'll say field name. And here we are going to use which field in our record of arrays is containing the name. And this one is going to be record URL. And deploy it. Any questions? Any confusion so far? Okay, no, I don't see it. So if you see here, right now we have got account name. And if you click on any account name, it's really going to, like it is asking if you really wanted to navigate. I've got the pop-up is disabled basically because your browser settings, we need the permission to open. Okay. Okay, it's basically because of my browser setting, I'm getting this error. Okay, I'll also recheck once if the field name, this is record URL. This is, yeah, this is the correct one. Okay, so if I click on this, if you see here, right, if I hover over, I could see the correct URL for the account. And if I click on this, it really, I think I did something today in my browser. That's why it is blocking me. But you will definitely be able to redirect to that particular URL. Okay. And you will be able to redirect to Salesforce. And one thing that we talked about, right? You could also define the target where you wanted to navigate. So we could say target, and that is, let's say, underscore blank, that is going to open in a new tab. That is about link, how you could display the link in your URL. Okay, here it is, record URL. Next. Are we good to proceed? Yes, no. Okay. So maybe, okay, I think there is some problem definitely with my browser setting, but if you go there, if you will try it, you will be able to navigate to the URL. Okay. And if you wanted to try it reversing these fields, like if I say, if I use it name here and record URL here, you will see the correct currently different URL and different behavior. So you would be easily able to know, even if you are able to making a mistake, like if you're making the mistake, that's fine. If you see here, right, this is now showing me the record URL. If I click here, it's trying to navigate to the account. So that is how even I got to know where basically which field we need to put. Now let's talk about how we could display the actions in the data table. Okay, because you definitely wanted to have some actions here, like each row has some drop downs and you wanted to display the actions so that you can based on, maybe it could be view, delete, update, edit. It could be any action that you wanted to put as a row. So how you could do is, you have a different type. You have a different type called action. It takes the type attributes where you have to use row actions, and row actions are going to be the array of records. Okay. So how we are going to handle this is, let's say you wanted to have multiple rows, sorry, multiple actions. So at the end of your columns, what you have to do is you have to use something called type, and you need to say type is actions. Okay. And then you have to use the type attributes. Type attributes again is a type of object where you have to say row actions. Okay. It is going to be row actions. And it is taking the array of records. And what is this? Array of objects basically. So these actions are nothing. These are the buttons. So what all the button takes? It takes a label. Okay. So label could be, let's say, edit. It takes the name. Okay. You could just give the name of your button. Let's say edit. And if you want enable or if you want disable, you could do that. And you could add, let's say, edit and view. These are the two, maybe delete as well. Okay, you can have the delete as well. There is a typo. It should be VIEW. Okay. And let's deploy this. Now what we will see is, we will see a drop down next to each row. We'll see the drop down next to each row, and we will see how basically it works. So, okay. We don't see that. Why? We've got action. Okay. The type is action instead of actions. Okay. Okay. So earlier we had actions. That's why it was giving us the error. It should be action now. And we would be seeing that. So you could see now, right? Every row has a drop down and you click and these three options are getting displayed. Nothing is happening on the click of any object, but that's fine. Okay. Now, what you definitely wanted to handle the actions, right? What has been clicked. So to handle that, you really need to go to your JavaScript. Before go to JavaScript, go to HTML now. You need to add an event listener that is on, I think that is row action, on row action. Okay. And let's say that is going to say handle row action. So what we are saying is whenever there is a row action, call this method called handle row action. And if you hover over this method, you will see more details about the method. Okay. Earlier we were able to see, but now it's not coming. That's fine. Go to JavaScript and define this method, that is handle row action. It's always going to accept a parameter called event, and you say event.prevent default. And now you wanted to get the row, right? Which row has been clicked, because there are multiple rows. So you definitely wanted to know which row, like the action on which row has been clicked. So how you are going to get is, let's say, let's create a variable called let row, and we will say event.detail. Okay. And then we are going to do the console.log and say json.stringify row. We just wanted to see what exactly is coming as part of this event.detail. And let's deploy this. So now our component is deployed. We are going to quickly get back to Salesforce and refresh this page. And we also have to open the inspect in order to see the console. Okay. So we are here within our table. Okay. We are here within our table. If you click on this drop down and if you click view, you could see here the complete detail about your row. Okay. What it rows is everything you are able to see there now. Okay. Now let's copy this. And then we are going to use code beautifier. Okay. Paste it here and beautify the code. So you could see here, basically, it has a variable object called row that contains the complete data about your row, about your table row, which has been clicked. And it has an action, and that action has a name and label, and it tells you which action you have clicked. Okay. So now what you could do is you could just go there and you can use a switch statement on the action name. Okay. How you will use a switch statement? You could say, okay, let's quickly create a variable called let action name equal to, we are going to say row dot action, because this is where our action here, right? Action dot name. And then we are going to use a switch statement. We'll switch action name. Okay. And we will say, okay, if case is going to have like within single, we'll say if it is view, then you could say maybe let's say alert. You're going to say JSON dot stringify row dot row, because this is our variable and this row variable contains this row object. Okay, that's why we have got. Or maybe instead of row, I will say clicks licked clicked row to make it more clear. Okay, and this is now here. And then you have to put a break statement. And then you could have other case, and you can say if it is delete, then you can say, okay, record deleted. And you definitely have to put a break statement. And if you have other case, you could say case, and you can say edit. And you could say, okay, record edited or something. You could just use anything, break it. And then there is something called default. You can say no action and break it as well. So that is how you will use switch statement. Even you could use if statement. That is not mandatory to use switch. You really don't need to like think, okay, Amit told me that I need to use switch, so I'll only use switch. You can also use if statement. That's also fine. Okay. Now, if you get back here and if you say, okay, go ahead and refresh this page. And if you click on now view, you could see the complete detail in the form of alert, because that's what our action says. And maybe if you click on delete, it says record deleted. So basically our action is working completely like perfectly fine, and we are basically able to do whatever we want. We can write any business logic there we want. That is what we had for the row label action that you need to put into your row. Okay, into your row label. Now there is something called, let's say there would be some requirement. And what would be the requirement? You might wanted to hide these checkboxes, or if even you don't wanted to hide the checkbox, you might wanted to have the maximum selection. Let's say that you can only select 2 products at a time and then proceed with those products. So how you could do is to hide this checkbox in your HTML, there is something called hide checkbox column. This is a Boolean attribute. It is going to hide the column. Okay. Let's first deploy this quickly and see the demo, and then we'll come back to the maximum selection. Okay. You can see now the column has been hidden. Now let's come back here and let's remove this. And if you wanted to have maximum number of selection, you could say maximum row selection. And if you say 2 or 3, it is only going to let you select maximum 3 records, because that is what we are deciding here. And now after deploying the changes, if we refresh, you can select 1, 2, 3, and now everything else, every else row is disabled. If you maybe uncheck this, now you can check other row. Other than that, everything is disabled now. Okay. So this is one thing that we have. Now, sometimes you only wanted to select one row. And if you say here, only one, it's really going to change the way it is displaying here. It is not now not going to display the checkbox. It's going to display the radio button, because radio button is used for a single selection. You could see here now there is a radio button, and you can only select one at a time. This is about the selection. Now you will definitely wanted to say, okay, Amit, how do I know which record has been selected? Because you're saying, okay, we have got things, but how do I know which record has been selected, right? And that is obvious. We definitely need to know. We definitely need to know which record has been selected. So for that, what we have is basically in our HTML, first what we have to do is we have to add another action called on row selection. Earlier we had on row action. Now we have got on row selection, and we have to call handle row selection. It could be the method name could be anything. This is just a dummy method name that I'm telling here. And you need to define that method here that will accept a parameter. The name is event, but you could name it as anything. Okay. Up to here, are we clear, or do we have any question? Good. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Perfect. If don't have any question, that's fine. Now what we have to do is let's quickly create a variable called let selected rows. Okay. And here we will say event.detail is definitely going to be there. Now, earlier we had event.detail. It gives us all these details like action and row. Here what we have is we have got selected rows. It gives you the rows which has been selected. And you can just do the console here now. Say, selected row, and you can say console.log, and you can say json.stringify selected rows. This is going to give you the number of records, the rows which has been selected for your from your table, and then again you can just do whatever the processing you want. Okay. So here, let's say we again going select 3 records. And you could see here clearly. Okay, let me, I think, refresh this page. And now I will showcase you here in the console. Let's select one edge communication. We got one record in the form of array. You see here, this is an array, and within array we have got object. If you select one more, we have got two records within the array. Now, if you unselect one, you will see one record. If you unselect one more, you will see blank array. So that is how you will be able to get the list of selected records. And then if you really want, you could have maybe a variable at the top level, and you can set selected rows, that is having the array here, blank array. And then within this method, you could say this dot selected rows, and you debug the same. And later on the click of a button, you could easily use this variable and access the selected rows that you have got for your table. Okay. Any questions so far? Anyone? Yes, no, anything? Okay. Now let's talk about how you could display the icons in your Lightning data table. So far, we talked about displaying the link. We talked about having the actions. We talked about selecting the records. Now, let's say you wanted to display some icons. Let's say this is a user. So you might want to display the icon here, user icon, right? Maybe this annual revenue based on some amount of a record, or like you might wanted to display so or down annual revenue, right? Maybe up and down icon. So how you would display that? Now, what we have to do is whenever it comes to the icons or the colors, what we have to do is we have to work with the cell, because this is our cell, this is our row, this is our cell. Earlier, we talked about our type attributes because we wanted to change the type. This time we wanted to append something in our row data, cell data. Okay. So there is, like, we have got type attributes. Similarly, we have got cell attributes. Okay. So let's say, for example, owner name, we might want we wanted to have cell attributes. Okay. And all this information is available in the document, so you don't need to worry about. Here, what we want icon name. So how we are going to display is we'll say icon name. And what is the value? Let's say standard colon user. And we already talked about how you basically prepare the icons here. So if we now refresh this page, you will see the icon is coming here, and this is user icon. And you can also change like the location from left to right as well. Okay. So that is about the icon. Now, but this is the standard icon that we have seen, right? We wanted to have the dynamic icon based on this. Let's say if the annual revenue is maybe greater than whatever the amount we have, then we are going to display the top icon. If less than, then we are going to display the down icon. What are those icons? We can go to SLDS icon. Okay. And then here we will have definitely some icon. Maybe we have got app. So we have got arrow up, arrow down. That's what we are going to use. Okay. Just allow me a minute. Okay. So let's say we wanted to use this utility arrow up for the amount that is greater than this amount, whatever it is. Okay. And we are going to display arrow down for the rows which has arrow down. Okay, so let's come back here. And in our, now we need to prepare the dynamically, right? So we really have to use some if and else condition. Just a minute. Okay, so what we have to do is here we have to say, okay, now we need to check. We'll say, okay, if account dot annual revenue is greater than the amount that I have copied. Now I'm going to get rid of all the commas and everything. If that is the case, we will say, okay, let's add another field called icon name, and it is going to say utility colon arrow down, sorry, arrow up. Okay, and else it is going to say icon, it should be arrow down. Okay, sorry, we have to say else if this revenue is less than this. Okay, because there could be one more condition, like the amount is equal to this. So in that case, we will display the that icon is arrow top. Okay, this one. So we have got three different icons. Any questions so far, like preparing these icons? Any confusion, anything? Okay, I don't hear anything. Now this is our variable. Then within our annual revenue, we have to use the cell attributes. Okay, so we have to say cell attributes. Here we wanted to use icon name. And make sure icon name is like this only, like I is small, N is capital. And this time, instead of using this, as we wanted to bind it dynamically, so we'll use an object here, and we will say field name, and which field contains the dynamic icon? That is icon name. And here you could also say, I think align or position, something is there that takes where you wanted to display the icon. And you can just deploy this. So now we are basically done with the changes. And if we go ahead and make this like refresh this page, you will see now the icons are coming, but the icons are really coming on a like different side, on the right side. And we really want them here on the left side, because this is really looking bad and it's not good. But if you see, right, we are able to see either equal or if we able to see that is up. Okay, everything is coming as up. However, it should be down arrow. Sorry, it says equal. Okay, there might be different condition, some issue in the condition, but we will change it. So if you want here now, what you could do is, I think that that is position, and position we will say it's going to be left instead of sorry, it's going to be right instead of left. And we will also check the condition, it has to be less than whatever the amount we have. Now you will see the icon will come up. On the right side, you will see the different icons that are coming in your table. Okay, definitely. It's still not coming. Okay, the icons has been changed, but the position has not been changed. So maybe I will check. Just allow me a minute. So we are going to say icon position. Okay, it is basically icon position. It's not position, it is icon position like this. Okay, so you have to just use whatever the icon position, it is left, right, or whatever you have. Okay, by default it is left, and you could put as icon position as right. And let's refresh this now. Okay, this is really strange, it's not working at all. It is cell attributes, icon position, icon name. Icon name, icon position. Wow, it is right. The spelling is also correct. It should be right. Yeah, it might be due to the cache issue, but it will definitely display on the right. Okay. So that is basically for the icon. You might wanted to change the different icon. You could definitely check it here. Maybe you might wanted to display some green icon for the up amount and then a red icon for the down amount. You could always use, there has to be something called chevron, as I believe, chevron. Yeah, you can maybe use like chevron down, chevron up. You can use that. So we can use maybe these icons there. For the up, we could use chevron up, and for the down, we could use chevron down, and for the equal, we might want it to keep the same. Could be anything, or maybe cross filter. Just something. This position is not working due to the cache issue, but this position basically will work. That we have said icon position. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. This is really my bad. It has to be outside of your icon name. Icon position should be right. Because we try to do the positioning here within the field name, within the icon name itself. That's why that was not coming. But now it should come up here on the right. You clearly see. Due to multiple columns, you're not seeing at the right place. You see here because it is somehow been getting into the different line. But if you unwrap the text, you will see the changes here. So that's how you will be able to add the icons, the multiple type of icons into your label and into your table, and you will be able to do the things. Okay. So what next we have? Dynamic icon we have already talked about. Okay. So for any questions that we have talked about the concept. Because that's what we are going to talk today, as we have already talked about so many things. Okay, if no one has a question, then we are good to close today's session.